Building a basketball super team is not a matter of simply accumulating talent. It is an exercise in complex geometry, psychological sacrifice, and strict tactical discipline. When you assemble a roster filled with all-stars, MVPs, and franchise cornerstones, the primary obstacle is rarely the 5 players wearing the opposing jerseys. The true opponent is internal friction. It is the clash of established habits formed on their respective professional teams, where these athletes are the undisputed apex predators of their offensive ecosystems, the primary engines who dictate the tempo and control the usage rate. But when you put on the Team USA jersey, the rules of that ecosystem fundamentally change. You are no longer asked to be the entire engine. You are asked to become a highly specialized, ruthlessly efficient component of a much larger machine. This transition, from alpha dog to specialized role player, is the most difficult psychological and tactical hurdle in international basketball. Today, we look past the clickbait and ignore the toxic internet narratives about jealousy, envy, and locker room drama, because this is not reality television. This is high-level basketball analytics. Instead, we examine a very specific recurring tactical breakdown that appeared during the recent Team USA exhibition games, analyzing the subtle friction between the modern allure of the point forward and the undeniable necessity of the traditional outlet pass. Basketball. Specifically, we are going to break down the transition offense dynamics between Angel Reese, one of the most dominant interior forces in the world, and Caitlin Clark, the most lethal transition point guard of her generation. What we are witnessing on the floor is not a soap opera. It is a clash of basketball philosophies, a breakdown in offensive hierarchy, and a powerful reminder that role discipline is the absolute foundation of championship basketball. To understand the root of this tactical issue, we must first understand the evolution of the modern big. In today's basketball landscape, positional lines have blurred dramatically, with players like Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo grabbing defensive rebounds and immediately initiating the fast break themselves in what is known as the grab and go. When executed correctly, it becomes a devastating weapon because it prevents the defense from matching up across the court and often forces smaller guards to defend larger players in transition, creating immediate physical mismatches. Angel Reese is an incredibly gifted and versatile athlete who has been actively expanding her perimeter game, and when she secures a rebound, her instinct, driven by athleticism and modern basketball trends, is to put the ball on the floor, push the pace, and operate like a point forward, becoming the initiator on a team where she often handles the ball. In many systems, this approach is acceptable and even encouraged, but Team USA is not a normal team, and the player standing just a few feet away from her asking for the outlet pass is not a normal point guard. Basketball.
Angel Reese grabs the board. Damn, says Caitlin, get the out my way. uses her right forearm to shield Caitlin.
Let us freeze the frame and analyze the exact biomechanics and tactical implications of this possession. The ball comes off the rim and Angel Reese, using elite positioning and physical strength, secures the defensive rebound. Almost instantly, Caitlin Clark slides into her peripheral vision, presenting her hands and establishing herself as the primary outlet. This is textbook fast break initiation. The fastest way to advance a basketball is never by dribbling. It is by passing. But instead of executing the simple, fundamental hit-ahead pass, Reese turns her body, physically shielding the ball even from her own point guard, and chooses to initiate the break herself. From a purely analytical standpoint, this becomes a catastrophic tactical mistake. When a big like Reese pushes the ball against a set or retreating international defense, the defensive stress level remains relatively low. The defenders are not panicked because they know that Reese, while extremely dangerous near the basket, does not possess the same elite playmaking vision or the deep pull-up shooting threat of a primary guard. As a result, the defense can comfortably retreat, build a protective wall in the paint, and focus on securing the rim. The geometry of the floor immediately compresses, spacing disappears, and the offensive advantage that could have existed in transition is completely neutralized. Now we can see how this compromised spacing begins to unravel the entire possession for the rest of the team. Basketball.
To Caitlin Clark. As she's giving it to Caitlin Clark, Derek Hamby commits an offensive foul. Now I don't want to make excuses.
Because Reese is handling the ball, the timing of the transition wings is completely thrown out of rhythm. Dearica Hamby, an elite rim runner, is sprinting down the floor doing exactly what she is coached to do, trying to establish deep post position early in the shot clock. If Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hands near the logo, she would instantly process Hamby's trajectory. Clark possesses radar-like peripheral vision that allows her to fire 50-foot passes on a frozen rope, hitting the runner perfectly in stride before the defense has time to react. But because the ball remains in the hands of a frontcourt player who processes the floor just a fraction of a second slower, the pass becomes delayed. Hamby reaches her spot but the pass does not arrive in time. The defense recovers, and in frustration, while trying to maintain her positional leverage, she commits a completely avoidable offensive foul. The possession ends in a turnover. This outcome is not the result of bad intentions. It is the mathematical consequence of flawed offensive hierarchy. To truly understand how much offensive potential is being wasted in these moments, we have to imagine the alternative reality. What happens when tactical discipline is maintained, when egos are set aside, and when the absolute optimal basketball play is executed? Basketball.
It's crazy. The worst part of all this is that if Angel Reese just actually gave her the ball, things like this would be happening to her. She puts her hands up and guess what? Caitlin gives it back to her.
This is what basketball nirvana looks like. The exact same personnel on the floor, but with the roles perfectly aligned. Notice how dramatically the defense reacts the moment Caitlin Clark receives the ball in the backcourt. Instantly, the opposing team enters a state of tactical emergency because Clark is a legitimate threat to pull up and drain a three-pointer from well beyond the arc, even from 35 feet. That threat forces the point-of-attack defender to extend coverage far outside the three-point line instead of retreating toward the paint. This simple but powerful gravitational pull stretches the defense to its absolute breaking point. And who benefits the most from a stretched, panicked defense? The bigs who are willing to sprint the floor. In this sequence, Clark immediately recognizes the defensive shift, lifts her head, and fires a perfectly weighted pass directly into her teammate's shooting pocket for an effortless finish. The real irony of this entire situation is that Angel Reese is theoretically the perfect transition and pick-and-roll partner for Caitlin Clark. Their skill sets are not in conflict. They are highly synergistic. Clark is the ultimate offensive initiator, a guard who manipulates defenses with her eyes, timing, and passing velocity, while Reese is the ultimate finisher, a relentless physical force who thrives when catching the ball in motion and powering through contact at the rim. We have already seen flashes of this partnership working beautifully in the past, proving that this synergy is not just theoretical but entirely achievable when the roles and discipline within the offense are properly maintained. Basketball.
This right over here, we could go back 2 years, rookie season, in the All-Star game. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese running the floor together in the All-Star game. Boom. Attack the middle. There's Angel Reese. Defense collapses. Drop off. Angel Reese, bucket. I mean,
Look at this footage from the All-Star game. This is the blueprint, the exact formula that should terrify the rest of the basketball world. Caitlin Clark calls for the screen. Angel Reese steps up and sets a strong, legal pick before rolling aggressively toward the rim. The defense, completely fearful of Clark's perimeter shooting, immediately commits two defenders to the ball handler in what is known as a hard hedge or blitz. By sending two defenders at Clark, the defense has essentially surrendered the structure of the possession. Clark remains calm, reads the blitz perfectly, and drops a soft, perfectly timed pocket pass to the rolling Reese. Catching the ball in stride, Reese attacks the completely unprotected rim and finishes for an automatic bucket. This is basketball in its purest and most unguardable form. No unnecessary isolations, no forced hero ball, and no point-forward experiments. Instead, the entire sequence relies on drawing two defenders to the perimeter and punishing the numerical advantage created in the paint. The real question then becomes, why does the breakdown happen? Why would a player like Reese, who can dominate so easily by simply running the floor and catching passes from a generational playmaker, feel the need to take control of the transition offense herself? The answer leads directly to the most critical element of national team basketball: coaching and accountability. The responsibility to correct these breakdowns does not belong to the internet or the fans. It rests squarely on the shoulders of the coaching staff. Basketball.
The mistakes that you guys made was something that Puerto Rico was doing, or were some of them also a little self-inflicted?
I think it was mostly self-inflicted. I thought we missed some defensive coverages, and then I think especially with how much we fouled too, like it really limits us, especially in transition when we want to play fast. And, it's hard to push, especially off of the made free throws or sitting in the press.
It was obviously a big win by a large margin for Team USA, but what can you say about what you saw about Team Puerto Rico tonight?
Yeah, I thought they played with a lot of fire. I thought they were aggressive. I thought the crowd was incredible. The fans were great, so it's a really fun environment to play.
It wasn't the best game offensively for you guys. What would you like to improve upon Italy coming up next?
Yeah, I think taking care of the ball is probably going to be our main focus. I think we could have moved the ball a little bit better. I don't know how many assists we had, but I thought we could have probably passed the ball a little bit better. I think about these games, the game was really, really long, and we want to get easy finishes at the rim, but I think also getting paid and be ready to take it out.
And would you say that it was due to Puerto Rico's defense or just offense not falling?
Puerto Rico did a great job, but also I think we could be better offense.
Kara talked. Kara talked about doing different lineups, different rotations, to test out that chemistry. Just how did you feel tonight, yesterday, with all those different
Yeah, I think
rotations?
it's going to be a work in progress. We've been really trying to kind of find the flow a little bit, especially when we're going 5 in, 5 out. But, you got to be flexible. That's kind of what USA basketball is all about. Some games you're going to play a lot, some games you're not going to play as much. You might come off the bench, you might start. So, you got to be ready when you're number small. I think everybody's done a good job of that. And, we don't even know the starting lineup until we're in the locker room before the game. So, you just get ready and go out and play. Good?
At the heart of this issue is the responsibility of the coaching staff, specifically head coach Carl Lawson. At the elite level, a coach's job is rarely about teaching players how to shoot or dribble. It is about defining roles with absolute, uncompromising clarity. Lawson must bring the players into the film room, shut out the outside noise, and present the raw, undeniable data. She needs to show the sequences where grab-and-go experiments lead to offensive fouls, broken spacing, and stagnant possessions, and then contrast them with the clips where quick outlet passes produce wide-open layups, collapsing defenses, and highly efficient scoring opportunities. The message must be clinical and emotionless. When bigs initiate the fast break, the team averages around 0.8 points per possession and the turnover rate jumps dramatically, but when the rebound is secured and immediately passed to the primary point guard, transition efficiency rises to roughly 1.4 points per possession. Numbers do not care about highlight reels or social media narratives. They only measure efficiency. Team USA does not lack talent. It is simply experiencing a temporary lapse in offensive discipline, and the beauty of that problem is that it is completely fixable. It requires no trades, no roster overhaul, and certainly no dramatic stories about jealousy or sabotage. It simply requires understanding that basketball is a game of maximizing advantages. Caitlin Clark's greatest advantage is having the ball in her hands while reading a retreating defense in open space, while Angel Reese's greatest strength lies in dominating near the basket, attacking the offensive glass, and sprinting the floor to finish in motion. If the team establishes that hierarchy and every player accepts that the name on the front of the jersey matters more than the statistics on the back, they will not only win, they could transform the way international basketball is played, becoming a synchronized machine that dismantles opponents with ruthless precision. But if the roles remain blurred and the temptation of the point-forward experiment overrides the necessity of elite guard leadership, the game will keep becoming far harder than it needs to be. Ultimately, the decision belongs to them, and the entire basketball world is watching to see which path they choose. Basketball.